Running a travel business can be overwhelming, but imagine if there was a single tool that helped you look professional, stay organized, was easy to use, and affordable. That's just what Travify does. Travify gives you the essential tools you need to look like a travel biz pro. Travify is the most trusted system used by over 30,000 travel brands worldwide. So get started with a system that helps you get back to the joy of planning travel and run your travel business like a pro with Travify.
Finding the perfect resort for your clients can be frustrating and take hours of research. TA Toolkit solves that problem for you. We have over 700 items your clients request, plus you can search multiple destinations at once. You'll have a list of resorts that match your clients' needs in less than 10 minutes. Sign up today with the promo code WAVEPREP2024 for a 14-day free trial. TA Toolkit, it's about time.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Prep for Wave Week. I almost said the name of another event that I do every year. Today is Marketing Day, and I know marketing is something that stumps many of you. Actually, there was a Travel Age West article recently that said, you as travel advisors don't feel, 63% of you don't feel that there's enough marketing resources. And I was shocked because especially that putting out a lot of marketing resources, I'm like, I don't know what else we can put out there. But today is an exciting there's going to be a lot of exciting conversations today, but this one specifically about social media. I have been following Sarah. I don't know how long I've been following you, Sarah, but she is a pro at Instagram and TikTok and kind of very strategic how she uses them both to get people in her world and really showcasing her expertise. She does sell, but it's not I've got a post-it note here. You should buy my post-it note. So we're going to dive into all the things about social selling. So without further ado, welcome Sarah from On Brand by Sarah.
Thank you so much. I'm pumped to be here.
Yay. And I know you're not an expert per se in the travel industry, but you are an expert on social selling. So how did that become to be? Because I know we're both chronic illness girlies, and being in marketing wasn't necessarily where your path was leading to.
Not at all. I used to be a speech therapist in out of district schools, so schools for individuals 3 to 21 with really high needs. And I would listen to business and marketing and social media podcasts on my way to work. And I just said to myself one day, like, oh my God, I could absolutely do this. And it
Oh,
wasn't a matter of like if I could do this, it was a matter of like when I could do it.
okay.
And within like, I want to say like 6 or 7 months, I matched my speech therapy income and I went full time in my business because, like you said, like I'm a chronic illness girly. I just couldn't see myself doing that career for the rest of my life. And
Mhm.
so I did everything I possibly could to make it so I could stay at home with my dogs and work for myself.
Love it. And I love that perspective too, because in the travel space, there's a lot of people who do like they're starting a business, but then they're also like working full time or part time doing something
Yeah.
else. And like that's something that we're going to touch on. Sales day is kind of like getting out of leaning on that like job as like your crutch and like going full in on your business. So what were like some of the first things that you kind of did differently that kind of shifted your perspective almost as to like what marketing was and like running a business? I know this is not like necessarily social, but I
No, oh
love
my
that you
God.
brought that up.
I love talking about these topics just as much as I love talking about social media. And really quickly, I want to touch on like, I am so in the belief that having a full-time job alongside your business is nothing to be ashamed of. I think it's actually so smart to stay at your job until you are rock solid in your business.
Mhm.
Because what happens when people leave before they are rock solid in their business is like your nervous system is probably all over the place. You are coming from this place of like,
Yeah.
oh my God, how am I going to pay my rent? how am I going to feed my family? And when we're coming from that energy, there's no way our business is going to take off like we want it to. And so I just had to preface it with that. Like I did not leave my job until I matched
Mhm.
my income. So never be ashamed to have both. It's actually a lovely cushion. I was so grateful that I had both the year of my wedding because it was like double income,
Right.
double rainbows. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to preface it. So you asked what I did differently when I started my business when it came to marketing.
Mhm.
Okay. So I am not gonna lie, when I started my business, I was so afraid to even like show my face on social media. I went on to my Facebook business page and I posted graphics that I made from Canva. And
Mhm.
then I very quickly realized that was doing diddly squat for me. And I'm a very all or nothing person, you
Uh-huh.
guys. So maybe you'll find yourself in the middle of this. But I went from just showing up on my Facebook business page with Canva graphics to showing up, talking, showing my face on Instagram and TikTok. And I'm so glad I did that full force. And I did that without any like preconceived notions or expectations or even knowing quote unquote how to use the platforms
Right.
because it just showed me like you gotta test and figure things out.
Yes.
And I think that like tapping into that like exciting beginner energy propelled me forward very, very, very quickly.
Okay. Would you say that you were always comfortable coming on camera?
No. Oh my God, no. No. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I cringe at the sound of my voice, me too.
Yeah.
My very first TikTok videos, and sometimes they'll actually like get traction from even like from like 3 years ago because TikTok is a search engine. And I watch those videos of myself and I look so nervous. I also remember recording that video and I'm like, I know I recorded that like 10 times before
Yes.
I landed on the final product. And now today's version of me is like, I press record once. If I mess up, I mess up. I curse in my content. I'm so comfortable getting in front of the camera. It's actually the most low lift content for me because if I could just
Right.
show up, turn on my camera, talk, press record, that's like perfect.
Mhm.
But it did not start like that.
Right. Right. That's you say like if you look back on your videos, because I'm like, I think if I look back on my original videos, I'd be like, oh boy. But that's
Yeah.
the only way that you grow is like by constantly doing it and getting out of like your own head and like just knowing that what doing something different is what's going to produce different results for your business.
And I always say whenever those videos pop back up, I'm so grateful for that version of me that did it scared.
Right.
Because if I didn't do it scared, I was never going to do it at all.
Hmm.
And now it's like an extension of my arm, an extension of my brain. It's not a big deal, but the only way it becomes not a big deal is if you do it over and over and over again.
100%. I'm like, I know people are questioning about like confidence in front of the camera, but I think like really that's the only way to do it is to
Oh,
get
it's the
in front
only
of the
way.
camera.
You could take as many video marketing courses as you want. You can get all the education, you could watch all the tutorials, but your comfortability and confidence on camera will only come with doing.
Hmm. Right. So why TikTok? How did TikTok come into the picture?
Yeah, so I downloaded TikTok as like a joke in 2020. I'm like, oh my God, TikTok, like that's like the dancing app. I was just bored. And then
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with this
Uh-huh.
app. It's so entertaining. And then when I started my business, I was like, wow, there's really not a ton of online business owners on here. I'm just going to start creating and effing around and seeing what happens.
Hmm.
And it very quickly became my fastest growing platform, my largest platform, the platform that I'm now known for in the online space. And again, I did it without knowing any of the rules, any of the strategies. My strategy was effing around and finding out.
Yep. Yeah, because I don't I don't feel like you dance in your videos. I know you do like some lip syncing, but really what you do a lot is, I'm gonna say that you preach, but that's not even what it is. Like you're just spreading good information and good knowledge. For those people who are kind of like, I don't really know what to say on a video, I guess where do some of your best content ideas come from?
Oh my gosh, my best content ideas come from things that past Sarah needed to hear as a business
Mm.
owner. And I think all business owners can pull from that. My best content ideas also come from working backwards from my offer because I fully
Love
believe
that.
if we want our content to do the heavy lifting for us in our business, we have to work backwards from there.
Mhm.
And last but not least, my best content ideas come from unpopular or polarizing opinions that a lot of people are scared to say, but I say them anyway.
That's I was gonna say, yeah, you do have a lot of like boom, like mic drop moments is what I like to
Thank you. I
call.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. My most popular series on social media is my hooks series. And if you guys don't know what
Mm.
hooks are, it's just that verbal or visual event that happens in the first 3 to 5 seconds of your video. So I have a whole series. I've done tons of videos, and they all start with stop starting your videos with, hey guys.
Yes.
And people always eat that up because I'm calling out something that a lot of people do. And they're like, "Oh, girl, you got me there. You got me there."
I feel like that's so like that's like pre-2020 social media is starting with the hey guys, because that's what everybody did. So
Hey
I'm gonna do it
guys, happy
too.
Tuesday. Sorry about my hair.
Yeah.
Yes, all those.
Say it all.
Yes.
I did want to go back because I loved where you said you kind of reverse engineer. I love talking about reverse engineering your business. So I'm not sure if we can do like a tactical kind of uh example right now, but let's say like there's a travel advisor that's wanting to promote a group cruise in the ocean somewhere in the world. Let's say Alaska, so we can be a little bit specific. So if they need to promote this Alaska group trip, how are they promoting it on social media if they know they need to sell 10 cabins in order to make their quota or whatever it is, their goal?
Yeah. So I'll do an example for Instagram, and then we'll do an example for TikTok.
Mm.
So what hits most of the time on TikTok, especially for business owners, are just talking videos, just face to screen talking.
Mhm.
So if you are wanting to sell a cruise to Alaska, maybe you're doing a talking video with the green screen behind you of like tons of screenshots of Alaska, and maybe you're talking about like what a prior client has said about the trip. Maybe you're talking about like the hidden gems that like you are so friggin' excited to explore. And then I like to call it, you're spoon feeding your audience what to do next, aka you're some kind of call to action, but you're telling them like, if this is for you, like if you're saying F yes, like I need to get on that cruise right now,
Mhm.
here's the next step to take. On Instagram, a lot of the time what hits when you scroll your Reels tab are those trending audio videos.
Mhm.
So those can be like B-roll, and all B-roll is like behind the scenes. So it could be you like typing at your computer, you like walking onto the cruise ship, or you rolling your luggage past the phone. And then the text on screen is really your shining star. And it could say something like, uh, you know, always wanted to go to Alaska, but thought it was too expensive. Like, comment cruise and let me show you how it's doable.
Mhm.
So again, you're spoon feeding what you want them to do next, and you're working backward from your offer. You know, I need to sell X amount of spots. So I'm going to talk about Alaska. I'm going to hype it up, and then I'm going to spoon feed them exactly what to do next.
Exactly. I feel like sometimes people overthink social media. Like it doesn't have to be that hard or that like labor intensive. I know sometimes like my best social media when I put up like a reel on Instagram, because I know, blasphemy, I am not really on TikTok myself. But it's really like when I just get my phone and I'm like, this happened to me today, and I can't believe that this happened to me today, blah 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 blah, blah, whatever it may have been.
Yeah. And I always say selling is serving and serving is selling.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm going to be so concrete with you guys. If I go onto my travel agent's social media profile, I want her to sell to me. That's why I'm there.
Hey.
If people if people are annoyed with their travel agent, travel advisor selling, they shouldn't be following a travel advisor. And so I'm sorry, it's so true. Like my husband and I just booked a trip to Mexico. Like I
Uh-huh.
want you to please sell to me.
Mhm.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
sometimes we need reminders to take those trips, to take those intentional times for ourselves. And if she wasn't always selling via email marketing, via her social media, it would almost be like out of sight, out of mind. And like the way that travel advisors, like the really great ones, like they just constantly show up, you are going to be so top of mind to your people.
Exactly. Ooh, so kind of like getting into that perspective, did you know that you wanted to go to Mexico, or did something on maybe their social media kind of sell you into like going to Mexico?
We just knew we wanted to do like a tropical all-inclusive.
Okay.
And so, and we were like, just send us some options. Like we were ready to buy.
Uh-huh.
So she sent us like Jamaica and Mexico, and like we were gonna buy one of them.
Uh-huh.
But again, like we went back to her because she's remained so top of mind to
Mhm.
us since she planned our honeymoon. And that's because
Love
she
it.
shows up and markets herself.
I love it because it really is a visibility platform. Because how I look at social media, and this is why I wanted you to come on, because I know you look at it a little bit differently. I see social media from a nurture perspective.
Mm.
Whereas you also see it from like this is how people find you, the visibility perspective as well. And I was like, I know I can't speak to that, but I know Sarah can because she does it. I know that you also mentioned kind of like the differences. You need to have this type of content for TikTok and this type of content for Instagram. And I know you've kind of like talked about it before. You had like I think it was like
My
the royal
royal
wedding.
wedding
Yes.
of TikTok and Instagram. I love
Yeah.
that you remember that.
Yeah. So
Yes.
how would you say, like, what's the difference and how could they work together if you are marketing on both platforms?
Yeah. So TikTok is 100% my awareness platform. Most of the time, that's where people discover me. I think that all business owners, especially if you're an online business owner and you're not running paid ads, one, or the majority of your business does not come from referrals, you need an awareness platform. And TikTok is an awareness platform. Um, so the example that I gave before is actually a perfect example of how to make them work like an old married couple. We
Mhm,
didn't reinvent the wheel at all. It was the same exact idea,
mhm,
just presented it in a different way. We were talking about the Alaska cruise in a talking head video with green screen behind us. And then we went on to Instagram and we're talking about it with trending audio and the text on screen. You can even stretch it further and talk about it in your stories. You could even stretch it a little further and talk about it in your email marketing.
mhm.
So I'm very much about not reinventing the wheel in terms of your ideas, but just presenting the content in a little bit of a different way so it fits with the culture of the platform. Like it would look weird if I took an Instagram carousel post and posted it on TikTok. That's not really the culture of TikTok. Do
Okay.
some people do it? Yes. Does it work 9 times out of 10? Not really.
Okay.
So you're taking the same idea and just presenting it in a little bit of a different way.
Okay. Because that, I think, something that we all love to do is be able to repurpose our content for multiple platforms.
I love
And
repurposing.
yes. So if you were doing certain videos with the goal of having it on one platform or the other, Are there any like minimal things that you could do to just like tweak it so it would work on the other platform and not completely flop?
So I noticed the most forgiving strategy, if you want to post the same exact piece of content on both,
Mhm.
is to start on TikTok with a talking video and then post the talking video on Instagram.
Okay.
Most of the time, if you take an Instagram reel and put it onto TikTok, it is going to flop.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, Instagram reels are just old TikToks.
That's an interesting way that you put that. I've never heard anybody say that.
Yeah.
Like,
It's so funny. Who I think so my best friend's husband, he only goes on Instagram Reels, and like it was he found a trend on Instagram Reels, and we were cracking up because we're like, that's like 3 or 4 weeks
that's
old
funny.
from TikTok. But it's so true. Like it is. Everything originates on TikTok and then it'll like trickle to other places.
And I think that's for me why I stick with Instagram, because sometimes I'm that person that I'm like, just tell me the thing. Don't tell me that you're going to tell me the thing and then go blah, 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 blah. And that's just because that works for TikTok. Like when I am scrolling through TikTok, I don't have the app on my phone, it's just on my laptop. But I noticed that
Oh, you're
those are
stronger than the storm.
I try. But that's what I notice is that like the most popular content on TikTok, and a lot of people are doing it where it's not even like I'm gonna tell you these 3 things, like, oh my gosh, this happened to me, and this is how we can change this, or do you know like the top way of making money or something like that. They start off with that hook and then they go through this storytelling, but I'm like, oh, I can't like saying all the things. So, like, what I guess is there a magic formula for being popular on TikTok versus being popular on Instagram?
You mean for the talking videos?
Yeah.
Okay, here's my current formula that works really beautifully. At least right now when we're recording this in September of
Right.
2024. Your hook, your call to action, your juice. Let me give you an example.
Interesting.
So the hook, again, that's that like captivating statement or something visual that happens within the first 3 to 5 seconds. So maybe my hook is something like, I'm bringing 8 people with me to Alaska this year.
Love that.
The call to action would be sure we're friends on here so you don't miss any budget friendly travel content. And then the juice would be like all of the tea that you're spilling about this Alaska cruise.
Mhm.
I love putting the call to action before I get into like the bulk of my video, because as much as I love certain creators, like even I don't stay around until the end of the video. So
Mhm.
if you tell me what to do before like the meat of the video even starts, I'm so much more likely to take action.
Mhm. I love that you put it that way too. And I also love that your call to action wasn't necessarily to sell, because I feel like sometimes there's too much like, if you want to book this, message me now. And I'm like, oh, you can't, like, you got to use book me sporadically. Like, that's not necessarily the call to action that you want to be using every time. There's a couple different ones that you can use instead.
Yeah, and I have to say, so I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up, but I follow a few travel advisors on TikTok,
Mhm.
and I think from what I've seen, like their best performing content and the content that gets people to actually take action with them is via lives.
Oh, that's another one.
It's via TikTok live. Like, and they totally hard sell in there. Like,
Okay.
people will ask questions and then they'll go through like the different like locations. And then, like, throughout the live, they'll say, like, be sure to tap my profile and fill out the inquiry form and I'll get you all set. I'll get you all set up. Like, they're super straightforward with it and it works.
Uh-huh.
And it's also a great way for your people to get to know you and like see
Yeah.
your personality, hear your travel stories, because there are probably millions of travel advisors in this world. Like,
Right.
what is going to make somebody book with you?
Right.
It's you and your personality and your story and whatever else helps you stand out from that sea of sameness.
Yes. And I love like a lot of marketing within the travel sphere is based on like supplier driven marketing. And we haven't even touched on that. And so travel advisors, I hope that you can see like when we're not going to touch on supplier marketing because we're not selling the suppliers, we're selling your services. And that's what you really have to focus on. Um, I wrote,
Yes.
I wrote something down. Okay. Instagram, TikTok, hooks, call to actions. Oh, stories. I was like, we can't not talk about stories because I feel like you are one of the best people I see selling
Thank
in their
you.
stories. And I don't feel like it is gross when you're selling in stories. You're selling and either I like skip along to the next story or I stay tuned because I'm intrigued at whatever it is that you're selling. So for those that might not even know like what Instagram stories are, can you give us like a quick little overview and the things that you can do in stories?
Yeah, so Instagram stories are pieces of content that disappear after 24 hours. So, as service providers, which most of you listening should be a service provider,
Mhm.
you can use stories for a whole bunch of different things, and I'll kind of get into how I use it and what I do to kind of nurture my community, get people into the DMs and sell. Even though TikTok is my largest platform volume wise, Instagram is actually the place where I close the most of my sales, and I
Mm.
do that through stories and DMs.
Mhm.
So my Instagram strategy for the past like year and a half has been this 50% personal content. And what I mean by personal content is content that has nothing to do with business.
Mhm.
So it has nothing to do with people tapping on a link and booking a consultation with you.
Mhm.
For me, this looks like sharing my dogs, sharing that I'm watching Secret Lives of Mormon Wives on Hulu, who I'm rooting for in Dancing with the Stars, my hyperfixation lunch. It has nothing to do with business. And what this does is it gets people into your DMs in a no pressure way. All
Mhm.
they're doing is talking to you about one of those things,
Mhm.
but it keeps you very top of mind when they're ready to book a trip. Oh, I just talked to Sarah about Dancing with the Stars. Oh, you know what? Let me ask her about the trip that we want to take in 6 months. The other 50%, I try and do business. And again, remember I said selling is serving and serving is selling.
Mhm.
I sell every single day. And if you are a business, which all of you listening are businesses,
Right.
you should be selling every single day, at least once a day in your stories. I like to think of my stories as a storefront. And anytime somebody comes into my storefront, I want them to be able to take action on some kind of offer. Is it a freebie? Is it a link they're clicking on? Is it a keyword that
Yeah.
they're going to comment? And I have that in my stories at all times.
I know that you recently took time off too, which made me think because you were still in the stories, even though you took time off. So obviously you were scheduling that, or I think you were scheduling that. No, okay. Okay. Spill the beans on like what kind of was your vacation plan for social media to staying active in stories?
Yeah, so I just took a week off in
Uh-huh.
this past summer, and honestly I just posted like if I felt called to, or if I had something to share. I didn't show up on my feed. I wasn't like I took time off of working with clients. I did have a free workshop, my What the F to Post masterclass.
Mm-hmm.
I had that the day I came back. So I did strategically post about that because I wanted to set future Sarah up for success.
Okay.
But I actually don't schedule any of my social media content. I think that no matter what people say, this is just my take on it.
Okay.
Take what you like and leave the rest. I think that platforms totally penalize you for using it because they want you to be interactive and engage. And if you are scheduling content, then you're not actively on the platform. So I have never ever scheduled content. Not saying that you can't. I just personally don't.
Okay. Ooh, have you ever done an experiment of that? Like, have you ever attempted to schedule just to see if there's a dip?
So I have attempted to schedule once when Instagram released the feature where you can
Right.
schedule right within the app.
Uh-huh.
I was still a social media manager at that point, which just means like I managed other businesses' accounts. Like I was in there doing the posting, the creating. So I was like, oh my God, this is great. I don't have to stay up until whenever to post their content. If they wanted to post it at a specific time, I could just schedule it. And I tried it a few times and like almost every time it glitched. And I'm like, I feel like this is a sign from the universe to just like go on for 30 seconds and press post on your stuff. I have a ton of stuff sitting in my drafts that are ready to go. I'm a big batch creator, which means I create a bunch of content all at once when I have the time and energy. I have to do that because I'm a chronic illness girly. There's no way that every single day I can be quote unquote on at all times.
Right.
But I do take that intentional 30 seconds and just press post within the platform.
Okay. And
Again,
then,
not saying it's wrong or bad, just this is what I do.
yeah, because I try and schedule where I can, but I have heard that from various people that scheduling also gets you dinged. So it's kind of like almost pick your poison. Like, is the risk worth the reward, or vice versa, and all that too. I know. Do you use Canva for some of your stories too, or is
Mm-mm.
everything direct right there in the Instagram Stories app?
Everything for me is in the Instagram Stories app, unless like if I'm doing like a live collaboration with somebody and I'm like promoting that live. Like I went live today with somebody. I do that in Canva just so it's like, I don't know, I had a template for it.
Uh-huh.
So I just did that in Canva. But like my stories that you see day to day where I'm selling, where I'm like giving you information, like that's all created in an Instagram app. I'm not effing around with Canva
Mhm.
for any of that. Um, Going back to saving time though, I do use a software called ManyChat,
Mm.
which is where you can automate the sending of DMs. And I only use that to send links, such as a podcast episode or a link to a low ticket offer, a link to a freebie. Uh, I find that it's really great because a lot of our audience has Amazon Prime behavior, and when they comment, they want it right away.
Right.
And so I was like, who am I to deny them of their Amazon Prime delivery?
Love it.
And I love ManyChat for that. I
Mhm.
don't automate like if somebody's having like a true conversation with me in the DMs, like it is always human Sarah. It is never
Right.
robot Sarah.
Right. Right. Would you say, or how far out would you say that you plan content, especially when you're thinking about the whole reverse engineering to an offer?
Yeah, I'm not great at planning my exact content. However, if I
Okay.
know I have an offer out, so for example, right now I'm in the middle of an offer called the B-roll bash,
Yes.
where we're getting 25 pieces of that B-roll behind the scenes content done in a week. I've known for about 2 weeks that I'm doing that.
Mhm.
And so because that's time sensitive, it's only lasting a week. All of my selling content has led back to that.
Okay.
I don't have the content planned out. All I know is that whatever piece
Have
of
to
content
sell
I'm
it.
gonna put out is gonna lead back to the B-roll bash.
Okay. Okay. I like that. I like that. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being here and sharing with us a bit. Was there anything that maybe we haven't touched on that you're like, oh, but you must know this before we get off?
I think the best thing I could leave you with, especially when it comes to TikTok, is just post. You do not need to have a perfect first video because TikTok is a search engine and it's also a slow push platform. So even if you posted 3 videos back to back, your third video actually might get pushed out first, then maybe the first one, and then the second one, but not until 2 weeks later. And so if you are putting pressure on yourself, like, oh, I need to make like the perfect introduction video, it has to have like my beautiful travel scenes behind, it doesn't. please just start posting because like we said at the beginning, the more you post, the more you get in front of the camera, the more you share your voice, the simpler it will be, the less scary it will be. And that's like the absolute best thing you could do if you want to show up on video for your audience.
100%. I always like to say get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way that you're gonna start feeling comfortable and it's gonna start
Totally.
easing up.
Totally.
I'm like, I don't know how many like podcasts and interviews and videos that I've done. I still get stress sweat, and that's just the thing. And I just know that that's
Yes.
gonna happen.
And we
I
always
do
make
the
it out
thing.
alive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Always.
Yep. Yeah. And I love that you also mentioned utilizing lives because I'm sure just being active on social media was one thing and being live is another thing that we could go on to, but we're not gonna spill everything. I highly recommend the travel advisors that you follow Sarah on social media, whether that's Instagram or TikTok, because like she mentioned, she just had a recent program called B-Roll Bash. She does so many amazing and fun. So if you want to make social media fun, definitely stay tuned with Sarah. What are all your channels that people can follow you on? What's your names and all that?
Yeah, so the best place to find me is TikTok or Instagram at On Brand by Sarah. And I post tons and tons and tons of free content that is super actionable. So please come find me on there. My DMs are always open. If you have any questions from this interview, let me know that you came from this interview with Rita, and I'd be happy to answer any follow-up questions.
Yeah, and I think we have a little freebie of yours. I'm gonna link it up below, but can you give us details on that?
Yeah, so I have my private podcast, which is called the Online Business Sales Funnel for Coaches and Service Providers. And you guys listening are service providers. And it goes through pretty in depth about TikTok, Instagram, email marketing, collabs and referrals, which we didn't get into today, but that's another super, super important aspect of your business as a service provider. So yeah, we'll link it below, but it's a nice like A to Z walkthrough of everything you need to market your business without paid ads.
Yes. Yeah, love kind of like taking a peek at the curtain, and I feel like this collaboration here on Prep for Wave Week happened because of social media and connecting
Yeah.
and stories. Really.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So I cannot go away without first saying another big thank you to our big partners for Prep for Wave Week. So thank you so much to TA Toolkit and Travefy, our presenting partners. And then our premier partners, Inflow Design Co., Lucia, and Fine Travel. Thank you so much for supporting this event. And huge thanks, Sarah, for being here and sharing with us all about social selling.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we'll see you in the next one, everyone.